As a home brewer, I've started to accumulate quite a lot of beer stuff, from extra fermenters and hydrometers to hops and even yeast. So today, I'm putting some of my extra resources to good use and brewing up a split batch of a Mexican lager. One of the reasons I decided to get a 15-gallon kettle was so I could brew larger batches if needed. For this beer, I'm starting with almost 12 gallons of reverse osmosis water for an 8.5-gallon batch size. After adding my water, I adjusted it with brewing salts. This step isn't mandatory, but will improve the flavor and mouthfeel of the finished beer. I use the brew in a bag method, which is a great inexpensive way to get into all-grain brewing. Once my strike temperature of 157 degrees Fahrenheit is reached, I just drop my bag in the kettle and secure it with some clips. Then it's time to add your grains. For base malts for this beer, I used a combination of pale 2-row, Pilsner Malt, and Vienna Malt. However, you could just combine all those and use a single malt like 2-row or Pilsner. I was running low on Pilsner Malt, so I had to adjust. I also added about 3 pounds of flaked yellow corn to get that classic dry, crisp finish you expect from a light Mexican lager. I'll post my full recipe in the description below, but you can adjust as needed. Most of the time, I leave my mash in for 45 to 60 minutes, or until I hit my pre-boil gravity. But you can always just leave it in for 60 minutes, stirring about every 15 minutes to help extract all those sugars. Once your 60-minute mash is up, I usually pull my bag up from the bottom of the kettle so it's not resting on the bottom, and raise the temp up to 170 degrees Fahrenheit for a quick 10-minute mash out. But this step is not mandatory, so you can totally skip it if needed. After that, I just pull my bag and start bringing my wort to a boil. Today, I'm using my grains to bake some bread using a recipe from Bradley over at the Portly Gentleman. It was a hit last brew day and pretty easy, so I'm totally doing it again. Thanks, Bradley. Once the wort is boiling, it's time for some hop additions. For this beer, I'm using 1.5 ounces of Hallertauer Mittelfrueh at 60 minutes for my bittering hop, and 1.5 ounces of Hallertauer Blanc at 5 minutes as my flavor and aroma hop addition. Here's where that extra stuff comes in. I've got extra fermenters and lots of yeast, but I only have enough room to control the temperature on one batch, and because this is a lager, that's important. Or is it? Enter Lutra Kveik from Omega Yeast. This stuff is supposed to produce a clean, lager-like beer without the need for temperature control. So I'm going to put it to the test for this beer and ferment one traditionally with White Labs WLP 940 Mexican lager yeast and the other with Lutra Kveik at room temperature. I placed the Lutra batch inside my house to ferment around 72 degrees, and the lager batch was placed in my chest freezer set at 52. I let both sit for 12 days before taking gravity readings. The Lutra finished at 10:08, and the lager yeast came in at 10:10. I transferred both beers over to purged kegs and then placed them in my fridge to condition and carbonate for 7 more days. Two beers. One Mexican lager fermented with Lutra. That's this one. I had to put tape on the glass so that I don't get them confused. One fermented with Lutra and one fermented with White Labs Mexican lager yeast. So right off the bat, I mean, other than maybe just a slightly different head retention on them, they both look to me almost exactly identical. The Lutra actually looks a little clearer to me, but color-wise, they are exactly the same. I mean, I see no difference. I would have no way of telling which one was different. So I did the triangle test. Did it with my neighbor Hayden, and he was able to pick out the Lutra yeast. So I decided to have my wife do a triangle test, which, you know, my wife is not a beer judge or anything like that, but she was not able to get the Lutra. She got it wrong. She thought the odd beer out was a different one. She didn't get it.
That one.
Okay, set it aside. You think that one's the different beer?
I guess.
You need another second? Or is that your final answer?
I don't know. It's going to be my final because that was super hard to tell.
Okay, so that's good. They're close. Okay, so let's check it out. I put a dot on the bottom. So let's see. Nope, you are wrong.
Oh, it was the one I was originally
It was
thinking.
that one right there. So that one,
gone my gut instinct.
the one with the dot is the odd beer out. And then, so I decided to try a triangle test. I had my son come and mix them up, so I had no idea which one was which, and I got it wrong. I couldn't tell them apart. When I first racking them to the keg, I could totally tell them apart. The Lutra had a more fruity aroma and flavor than the White Labs. But now that they've been kind of sitting and conditioning it's been over a week now, they are getting more and more similar. So like I said, when I did my triangle test, I got the wrong one. I didn't pick it out. So I could obviously go back and do it again and again and again and do it a few times and see if I got it right. But to me, it is what it is. My goal with doing this experiment was to try to see if you can make a pseudo lager or a lager-like beer with Lutra at room temperature. And to me, it was completely successful. You want to make them a lager and say, hey, look, I made this Mexican lager. I used Lutra. You could tell somebody this is a lager, and they're going to believe you. If you don't tell them what yeast you used, you don't tell them you did it at room temperature, they're going to say, oh, it's a lager. I'll be honest with you, I've been drinking this one a lot, and I've been going for each one. And they're very clean and very refreshing. As you can tell, it is sunny here. It's been like up into the mid-80s already for spring, which, you know, feels a little bit warm for us right now. And these are super, super refreshing and easy to drink. The moral of the story is, can you use Lutra and make a lager-like beer? Absolutely. Absolutely. You don't need any temperature control. So this, to me, Lutra is like a game changer in the world of lager beers. And I know it's not a traditional lager. I get it. But it tastes like one, and you could totally serve it to somebody, and they're probably never going to tell the difference. To me, these beers are almost identical, to the point that I would totally use the Lutra again for a lager. I mean, they taste almost the same. They're fantastic. If you don't have temperature control and you want to start brewing lagers, don't worry about not having temperature control. Pick up a pack of Lutra. Nobody's going to know the difference. Nobody's going to know. They're not going to know. How would they know? My name is Brian. Thanks for watching. Until next time, cheers. It's hot. I'm sweating. Am I sweating because I'm on camera? I mean, I watch myself in these videos that make it be over. I am sweating. It is hot. It's like 80 degrees. Go jump in the pool after this. Here, I mean, I do. Maybe I need to. I obviously, I mean, my pouring. I mean, take a look. I've got one beer is up to the top, the other one. So, way to go there. They're not identical. But to me, I mean, all right, so let's go in and taste.